he's like, yeah, you know, I can't stand these black people. I'm like, what? Wait, what did you say to me? And then he's, am I allowed to swear?
Nah.
Okay. And this was the first time, the only time I've ever seen cops arrive in a couple of seconds.
Really?
Literally.
Law of attraction, like where did that start?
Damn, it's been a while since I've eaten, you know? It's been like a couple of days, like, you know, there's rats running around in my bed. Like,
Do you think you have split personality when you're an author?
I mean, I know I'm crazy. I already said that. Now, and then friend A messages to say, oh, you better hope they don't find you and blah,
What?
blah. Yeah, like literally, I'm like, yo,
Who says that? Have you faced any racism at all? Like, just be a complete
you
asshole.
can't like hit someone with a pan with a,
Yeah.
you know,
You can.
Fear of misconception, or that it's very wrong just because I know there's a lot of religious resistance to it. But and like human trafficking, it's a very big thing to me. I was getting raped by my older brother's cousin in a negative vibration. Like a magnet, you'll attract more negative things. If you're like, everything's going wrong, if you wake up in the morning, you're like, I just know today's the reason. At first, I thought maybe he's just like someone hoping to like, you know, get it in. Or like, you know, that was my first assumption. And I'm proudly mixed race. I'm proud, and I know how many mixed race, I've met so many who struggle with that.
Hey, you knocking on my ribs, yeah, you stay robbing, can my...
You got it right.
And I'll later introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Mia, or MISADVENTURES, and I'm an all-around entertainer invested in writing, music, and film. Yeah.
Okay, you heard it from herself. So let's just get started. So what type of music do you do?
I both rap and sing. Yeah, that's my big thing.
And what does your rapping consist of?
A multitude of things. I talk about all sorts of topics, usually, you know, what brought me to where I am now, what I've gone through, but also, you know, some fun stuff, some kinky stuff.
By kinky stuff, I'm assuming it's not YouTube friendly.
I don't think so.
And you mentioned also your music covers things that you've gone through in your life. Do you care to elaborate further on that?
Yeah, for sure. So my upbringing started very much in a not so nice area. I started around Alces River in Muizenberg when it was still okay, but there was still some sketchy stuff going on. So I'd go back and forth between there and growing up from there, and how I journeyed through that, how I got into a better position with my family, but then how it like fell away, and the struggles of that, and taking care of my family when I was 16 and how I was navigating that. And also, you know, some of the struggles I went through.
Taking care of your family when you're 16?
Yeah.
What does, can you speak on the situation around that?
To an extent, I mean, to an extent. So with that, I first started doing, you know, some extra work, you know, in film or stuff like that, but I realized it took a lot more to take care of, you know, my mom, my brothers and all that, and the animals. So then at some point I ventured into working as an exotic dancer, and some other hustles as well, some writing hustles here and there, but that was kind of like the main staple in order to provide for them. So that was that, and then after that I did some other journeys, and I just, you know, kept going.
Also, I know you're very big on the spiritual aspects of life. Would you care to elaborate on that?
Of course. So with that, a lot of religion was forced on me when I was very young, not necessarily from my mom, but in all aspects, you know, from extended family, from people trying to say you should be Christian or you should be Catholic or this and that. And I'm not opposed to any religion at all.
Yeah, of course.
I've explored, I've learned from each, and I've decided to accept all of them as one, without any names attached or anything like that. And I respect all of them. I don't disregard any of them. And the way that my life has seemed to kind of progress, I've been seeing things that I could only call spiritual. For me, it feels like the strongest connection, like the word that I prefer. But no other word is wrong in my opinion.
And I know usually when someone brings up the term spiritual, you know, a lot of people kind of, you know, get that, will be opposed to it, you know, they don't believe in those type of things. So what's your take on it? Like,
well, spirituality, I think, is kind of in sync with religions. Like, some people might be like, ooh, what are you doing? Oh, don't go there, don't go there. But I think a lot of it is that it's not about being wishy-washy or being, oh, like life is all fun, like it's bigger than that. It's kind of like with the core of any religion is having your faith, having your whatever you want to call your power, whether it's God, you know, whatever you want to call it, it's having that core. and believing in it, and like the essence of that.
And at what age did you get into the spiritual aspect of life, if I may say so?
I'm not too sure. I would say after my depression, I went through like a huge depressive phase when I was a teenager, when I was like around 13, 14. And for a while I didn't have any faith. I didn't believe in anything. I was like, a truck could hit me, I'm okay with it. I really don't mind. Like, honestly, I didn't mind. And I kind of allowed life to show me what it was about without any bias. I tried to do that. I tried to open up because I wanted to believe in something. I wanted to understand without bias, without attaching to anything for just any reason. And then from that, it just became a natural journey, and I'm kind of loving it.
Where did you start? I mean, like, where does one go in being in that state?
I had a partner who was very spiritual. My mom was also she was very religious, but she was very spiritual as well. And I think just having that in the background kind of naturally like progressed. I can't pinpoint an exact moment and be like, that was my aha moment. But it was a natural progression, and I think a couple of years ago I just got more into it because it just felt good. It made me feel happier, and I've learned a lot through it.
You mentioned depression, right? And what are some misconceptions that people usually have with depression? Because I know some people assume it's not the real thing.
Yeah, it's not a real thing.
Like, why can't you just get over it, you know?
That was a big thing with my mom, like because she grew up in Elsie River. This is where, when she was very depressed for a lot of experiences she went through, parents were like, it's not a real thing, you're lying, you're making things up. So from that, she passed it on to me. So when things were seemingly all good in the financial side, and I was depressed.
It didn't make sense. Like, how can you?
She said,
how can you be in a good? Why is things going while you're not alive, but then all of a sudden you're saying you're depressed?
Exactly.
Like, you only expect people to be depressed. Like, I put in quotes for people that believe in it. Is you only expect someone to be depressed if they're going through a tough time in their lives. So it doesn't make sense when things are going.
In the facade of things, because you can go through a lot of stuff internally, or a lot of maybe past traumas that maybe you never spoke about, or your family or your friends don't even know about, that you're kind of like, okay, that's okay, I forgot about that. But meanwhile, it's like building up in you. You don't know why you feel like something is eating at you, and why you're feeling, and you're calling yourself these words. You're like, oh, you're lazy, oh, you're stupid, oh, you're making this up. You start to convince yourself. I don't think it's fake or it doesn't exist. I do think a lot of healing can help it. I don't think it's a permanent thing. I don't think you necessarily need a pill for it. I do think it's just this negative vibration that you feel very stuck in, but I do believe you can heal and get out of it.
You mentioned vibration. Could you just elaborate further on that?
Vibrations, I mean, that goes back to spirituality and your law of attraction, where when you're in a negative vibration, like a magnet, you'll attract more negative things. If you're like, everything's going wrong, if you wake up in the morning, you're like, I just know today's going to be am I allowed to swear?
Nah.
Okay, I know today's going to be a bad day. I know today's going to be a bad day. And then you'll find like, oh, I stubbed my toe, or, oh, I almost got hit by that car, oh, my cat just like, go.
So you kind of brought into existence already to start with.
And when you channel into a positive vibration, which is very difficult for a lot of people, because often we are surrounded by a lot of negative people, not consciously. Sometimes our parents observed our grandparents, and they're like observing how, oh, things are going wrong, or, oh, money is the root of all evil, all these like really like negative
connotations.
And they pass it on. They don't even realize that it's negative, and they pass it on to you. And I think it's really a practice to get into a positive vibration. Be like, today's going to be a good day. I don't care. I don't care that, like I hit my head into a glass door. That's okay. I'm still alive.
Isn't that a bit extreme though?
I'm still good. I'm still alive.
That could have been worse. That type of moment. It could have been way worse than that.
100%. 100%.
So do you get this vibe from people as well? Because I know people say feel someone and be like, this person gives me a vibe. I'm guessing that comes from a vibration. About it,
100%. 100%. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can feel people's energy. I can feel your energy, likewise you can feel mine. For some people, if you're in a very good vibration and you're around someone with a negative vibration, but you're persistently in a good vibration, when you're around someone with a negative vibration, you might find yourself kind of separating or just naturally gravitating away from that.
Towards or away from that, yeah.
Likewise, if you're in a negative vibration, you might find like the happiest people, like say you meet like your happiest friend, but maybe your happiest friend isn't around. Maybe they're on a work mission or something just by natural law. But that's because they're in such a happy vibration that it's hard to kind of magnetize you guys to each other because of that. Sometimes you can be around someone who's in a negative vibration and gives you that vibe and it makes you like clench up just because you can feel it. You can feel if someone's in a comfortable state or in a not so comfortable state, if they're feeling like angry or happy, or you
like, let me not approach this person.
For sure.
You can feel it immediately.
For sure.
You mentioned law of attraction. Does that all tie in that as well?
With
the law of attraction, with what you want to come in. You start off your day and you're like, it's going to be a positive day, and you bring that towards yourself.
100%. I truly believe that. That's why I start the morning off with like positive like affirmations. And I said, at first it's a practice, you know, you might be like, oh, I'm going to have a good day, but saying with this like attitude, like, oh, I don't really believe it.
But deep down, you're not really fully in it. You got one foot in only.
And each day you do it, every single day, you start to believe it, like, ooh, I am going to have a good day. Ooh, yes, I'm having a good day. You know what I mean? It just, it's a build up. It's a practice.
And do you have cases where this has actually played out for you?
100%. I believe the reason I'm alive today is because of this. No,
Can you share some of those experiences?
For sure. I'll pinpoint a particular moment when I was very, very young that I think really kind of opened my... I didn't know it was called law of attraction. I didn't know that, but... Okay, I'm going to be careful with how I word it. But I was with a family friend, and he had to take care of a situation. Let's just call this guy Sam. Okay, Sam. Sam is a family friend, yes. And Sam had to take care of a guy who was trying to kill his family. This guy was trying to like come in, he was trying to kill his family. I was supposed to go somewhere with Sam. He was supposed to drop me off, but the situation was immediate. So he's like, can we go? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's make sure that the family's okay, let's do it. So we arrived to the house. And he's like calming the family down. They're all hectic because this guy already tried to kill his whole family early in the morning and stuff. So it's like very like hectic. And I realized I was like 14, 15 at the time.
But you're fully aware of everything at that point.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, okay, my mom would probably not be so happy that I'm here right now. Yeah. And I realized it's not necessarily the safest situation. And I was like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And then this guy who wanted to kill his family, he arrived on the lawn of the house. I could see him right through the window. Through the window? Yeah, through the window. And he was known for taking a lot of took. And he came with like all these friends and stuff. And they were going to come and they were going to kill his family from a distance. And I was like, I have a choice right now. I could panic. I could run up and down like the whole family is. I could stress out. Or I could believe that nothing is going to happen right now. We're going to be absolutely okay. And it was hard to kind of believe it.
Of course, because being in that intense situation.
I could see them right there. But I believed. I'm like, you know what? If today's the day, I accept that. I fully accept that. You know, I've lived a great life. That's why I'm grateful. But I don't believe it. I believe I'm going to live to see another day. And so is his family. And without saying nothing graphic happened. But by default, Sam decided to do something that I never expected to ever work. He picked up the phone, called the cops. He said, look, if you guys aren't here in a couple of seconds, I'm going to kill them all. Wow. And this was the first time, the only time I've ever seen cops arrive in a couple of seconds. Really? Literally. Wow. And yeah, and you know, I live to see another day. And I think that was like a little moment that made me realize, you know, you can be in a very tough situation. It can feel very like hectic. But if you still believe that only great things, it doesn't matter what happens. I could have gone ahead. I could have like anything.
Scream, panicked, or did something, you know.
But if you still believe, I'm not saying it works 100% of the time. Yeah, just. But I'm saying it definitely does work. It's one of many experiences that I had.
But that's you know, not a lot of people, you know, in those type of situations will be able to say, look, I've lived my life at this point, right? I mean, you're what, 15, right? And say, you know, I'm content with what's about to happen, whether it's good or whether it's bad. Yeah. You know, so that takes a lot of, if I may say so, balls, courage, you know.
Thank you. I think that's the thing. You don't know what you're going to do in situations like that until it actually happens. And it's just about being grateful regardless. You might not, didn't do all I needed to do at that point in my life, but it's
But you were at peace with what was about to take place.
gratitude vibes, yeah.
That's very powerful. I'll get back to the gratitude point, but just going back to the law of attraction, like where did that start? What any authors, books, or anything that you
know, there's some books, yeah. We were speaking earlier about The Secret. I mean, that was something I saw when I was very young. My mom told me about it. I was just so curious.
So the book she's referring to is called The Secret, and it deals with the law of attraction. I'll put it up here at some point and you can see it. But yeah, please do go on.
Yeah, and I love The Secret. I love The Secret. I also saw the movie as well, and I was super inspired by that. I forgot about it for a while, and then I watched a lot of what I call online mentors, just people that inspired me. I don't know, like little callings of just like hearing maybe like a music artist that I like, or maybe an author that I like, and they maybe mention a book, and I'm a curious person. I know you're very curious too. And I researched, and then through that I discovered Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and he's a big, author on the law of attraction and about what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. That's and I read through his book and I absolutely fell in love, and I reread it, and then I discovered other authors and other books that he recommended.
Basically a rabbit hole. You're just in a rabbit hole.
And I fell in love because I found it to be true for me. I found it, when I've struggled, I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent, I've got like 2 days, and then somehow, I get a job, or I don't, there was one point where I had to find a place. It was short term. I had to find a place. I couldn't find a place. My best friend, she was freaking out. She's like, I don't know what you're going to do. She sent me all these places. She's like, this might be a great, because I couldn't find a place that I could move into. And then on the day I was supposed to move out, on the morning, I found this place. I'm like, wow, this would be perfect for me. And I'm like, can I view today? And they're like, oh, no, I'm like, please, can I view? I viewed, I moved in within the hour that I was supposed to be moved out. Yeah.
I was waiting to hear like a few days.
No, within the hour. And I was like, wow, no, I believe it because of what I've experienced. I wouldn't believe it unless I experienced it.
And that's interesting actually, because if you have these events happening, one after the other, then that belief that you have obviously grows, and that has a reaction on your belief in the whole system.
For sure,
so which is quite interesting. You mentioned gratitude. Like, what's your take on gratitude? What does it mean?
I think gratitude is the attitude. I think
gratitude is the attitude.
No, for sure, because you can be in a very amazing position that's very obvious to everybody. You could be like, okay, cool, I'm financially free, my family and friends are all good, I'm living the life. And you can easily be grateful for that, or you can easily forget about that. You can also be in a situation where you're like, damn, it's been a while since I've eaten, it's been like a couple of days, like, there's rats running around in my bed, like, you can be in that. I've been there as well, like, you can be there. And when I was in those situations where I'm like, oh, damn, it would be nice to have like an apple or something, I'm like, you know what, I'm grateful that my mom is still alive. I'm grateful that I have my friends around me. I'm grateful that I still have the desire to write or make music. I'm just so grateful for that. I'm grateful that I'm here right now, I'm grateful for this water. I'm
the small things, right, which pulls that appreciation.
And it attracts more. It attracts more things to be grateful about.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. And in terms of your writing, what do you write about?
A variety of things. I mean, I love writing poetry to short stories, but I do love writing novels. I finished a novel recently, which I want to release this year, so I'm excited about that.
And do you care to either share more on the novel that... Or is it going to be one of those, usually writers don't like to share?
When you see. But I'll try and nutshell it. It goes between two point of views of an older sister and a younger sister. The older sister's name is Rose. And she was named this like local hero when she was a kid. And it's not revealed why until like halfway in the book. And in the first chapter you find out that she's dead. You don't know why, don't know whether it's a suicide or homicide.
Suspense. Keep us guessing.
Everyone's trying to find out, and the little sister especially, because she feels like there's more to be told and there's stuff being hidden from Rose's friends, Rose's past partners, Rose's family, and like the whole town. And it's this coming of age story in a sense as well, of showing the journey of the little sister, discovering more of her sister through her diary and through other people, as well as the older sister, and how she had come up and what had happened to her, what went wrong, what went right. And just it deals with things like racism, classism, sexism as well, and just that kind of journey of trying to discover yourself in a time where you don't know what's going on and you're just trying to figure it out.
Regarding the book, are there aspects of your life in it?
For sure, but it's to an extent.
To an extent.
Yeah.
You know, I was reading there's a question I was thinking about the other day when it comes to, you know, authors. Do you think you have split personality when you're an author?
I mean, I know I'm crazy. I already know that. But I think that's what authors enjoy. You know, you get to be...
Because how can you, like, live through a different... It's not you, but you take a different persona just to... You have to live in that character.
100%, and it's a form of expression, you know? Like, if you're like, oh, I want to be an asshole today, let me just get this...
Take your character out and just be a complete asshole.
You can't, like, hit someone with a pan with a... You know,
you can. You can.
But you probably shouldn't, you know? So...
you mentioned two important things that I picked up on there, which was one was racism and sexualism, right? To get it right. So going on the racism, what do you identify as? Because I know we had this conversation earlier. A lot of people would be surprised what you identify as.
I do identify as mixed race, proudly so. And I know with mixed race people, sometimes they prefer to identify with the race that they're perceived as more. I completely understand that. I prefer to identify as mixed race, and and that's because I grew.
It's fine. Ignore them.
And that's because I grew up with only the colored side and black side of my family.
So the mixed race is between black and white, right?
Well, between colored and
colored and with white. Black involved in
that
root, and then white,
you know.
Side,
and I grew up with that side, and that was how I wasn't raised as that, but that is what
environment
exactly. That was what I was surrounded with. That's what I know. That's how I grew up, and I don't want to disassociate myself from that and be like, okay, just because I'm passing, I'm proudly mixed race. I'm proud, and I know how many mixed race. I've met so many who struggle with that, not knowing, being told, oh, you have to choose this, or you have to be like that, or you're acting white, or no, you're acting black, or no, you need to do this or that. Like, I don't care about that. I know what I am, and I'm proud of it.
Have any friends that are also mixed race?
I'm quite a few. I've collected quite an arsenal by this point, but
you collected an arsenal. You got your weapons ready. The biracial was about to take over, you said.
But my longest best friend, she is mixed race. Yeah. And
you mentioned she's more on the white side, right?
Yeah, in terms, so she
grew up in the white.
The white side, the white environment, and we're speaking about the difficulties of that, and like, you know, because there's a lot of underlying racism that happens with that, and how now she struggles now because she grew up with the white side that some people, even though she has a darker skin tone than me, they're like, oh, you're acting white. You know?
She grew up on the white side, she's dark in complexion, while you grew on the colored side, but white.
For sure, and she gets this struggle, people saying, oh no, you're acting white, or you're doing that, when she doesn't see it like that, she just sees herself as being herself. She's both, and like proud of that, you know. Yeah.
And have you faced any racism at all? Like,
a lot.
So how does that happen? Does someone find out you're biracial and then starts, or what? How?
Either or. So some people can tell I'm biracial and some people can't. We also spoke about that, but it happens on all sides. So I didn't have it so much as a kid. I know, like, when my older brother went through this difficulty where he was taking me to primary school where I looked a bit lighter, and this woman saw us, and then she like grabbed me away from him because she thought he was trying to kidnap me. And then and then
that's crazy.
I went to a school, I won't say what school, but I was in Museum of Junior for a little bit, and then my mom was like, okay, you know, let's try and put you into a private school, see how that goes, you're good at sports and all that stuff. But it was a school that was very much predominantly white.
That must have been interesting.
Like 99.9%. So it was like, and for me, it was very new to be in that kind of environment. And
coming from an all-colored environment.
Yeah, I mean, there were some, you know, but it was...
but predominantly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it was fine at first. And then I befriended someone, and she noticed something was different about me, and then she met my mom.
What do you mean? What do you mean she noticed that something was different about you?
Because, you know, when you're coming from an environment that's
the tendencies of showing up, you say basically that.
I was very well behaved, but it's just my accent was different.
Of course, you know.
what my accent sounds like now is not what it was like when I started out. So that was already noticed.
Did you sound like me?
I was very rough accent.
Okay.
So, and she saw my mom, and then my friend came to me, the next day at school, and she's like, we're gonna have to like hide about being friends because my mom doesn't want me being friends.
Really?
Yeah, because and I was like, why? And she's like, oh no, because my mom doesn't like colored people in Europe.
Doesn't like colored people.
Yeah, like
that's interesting.
That's a very nice euphemism, but
yeah. I don't like colored
so
people.
we weren't allowed to be friends because of the race and the race that I was associated with, and that was just one of a few things. And then also when I was a dancer, I got it more from people with darker skin tones. Not like I was friends with a lot of people with darker skin tones, but there was like also like a clique. Like that's how it's very much like high school in a strip club. It's very this section. I don't care about none of that, but there was some girls who would in the language they would say, oh this guru girl needs to take her ass back and go blah 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 and all that stuff. It would be translated to me, and it was it's just been interesting. I've had racism from all sides. It doesn't bother me as much anymore as maybe when I was younger. But yeah.
So, a lot of people usually think, racism flows one way, which is racism to black people only. But obviously from your experience, you face it literally from all races,
so
right?
that's what blacks are too.
Right, you got it from the blacks, the coloreds. Do you get it from the coloreds as well? Or is it just literally the whole spectrum?
With them, so this is the thing. Because I'm from Musenberg, because when I try to say I'm mixed race, and so like my color friends are like, no, your color.
What?
So that's the thing of just wanting me to identify as, to use the word color rather than mixed race. But that's really been, with that, I've been accepted,
And how did you come to, letting that not mess with your energy or your, your well-being?
Because I understand it's ignorance, and I don't mean that in a rude way. I don't mean it's like they're stupid. I understand it's like the not knowing. There's people of lighter skin tones who are scared or they fear something of people with darker skin tones. There's people of dark, there's a fear or not understanding, and I try to understand that. And when I come across racists, I try to ask questions. I try to understand. I once had a friend. He was taking me up to Malpoort, funny enough, all the way from Musenberg, and that was a long journey, right? It's a long journey. And he's white, and I've seen him with like colored friends and stuff. So I was like, can you send me this photo shoot? He was more than happy to do so. And then during the drive, while it's starting, he gets passed over by this, black guy, and then he comments on that. And he says like something very like...
Wait, comments? Who comments?
My friend. He says...
he comments?
Yeah, he's like,
so he gives
like,
a... Oh, yeah, okay.
So I'm like, I did not know this guy was like this. And we're about to go on a long journey. And then he's like, I can't stand these black people. I'm like, what? Wait, what did you say to me? And then he's like, blacks and like...
And then he goes on and on and on.
And I'm like, I don't know who you think you're speaking to, but and I guess also because I've been in a lot of...
You thought you had a compadre there.
100%. I was like, no, fam. And as of recent, funny enough, I've been around a lot of just white environments. Like I've been put in those situations, and it's been interesting to see because
and observe.
Because sometimes I think they're not even aware of not white, all white people, but sometimes they're not even aware of some of the comments they make. Like I was once...
But first you have to finish that story first.
Oh yeah, but what happened with that?
Start with the friend first.
No.
And then what happened afterwards?
No, he was just saying, he's like, it's not all black people, but most black people. I was,
So how did that whole situation end?
No, I told him a thing or two. Like, I'm not going to get too much into it because he might watch this as well. But actually, no, you should know. I didn't appreciate that comment. But, and...
so you're going back to, obviously, them not being aware of the stuff they say.
Yeah, I don't think they realize are racist, and it shocks me. It shocks me because I'm like, and they look at me like I'm supposed to agree with this. Like, I'm like, I don't know this kind of, like, I don't talk like this. I don't...
But see, that's the beauty as well at the same time of having both aspects, Like, you can then see some different view of it. What I was going to say now again, and then the sexuality, right? What do you identify as?
So I identify as bisexual.
So bisexual. And when did you discover that?
I know for some people there's like a discovery age. For me, I always knew. I like men as much as I love women.
And your family?
how they reacted.
Yeah, what was the reaction from your family? Because I know there's usually, you know, a negative or resistance when it comes to those type of things.
Luckily with that, there was none of that. My mom, she was okay with it. She's been around all sorts of walks of life. She has all sorts of friends. My little brother, I mean, he just knew, because I would make jokes when he saw like a girl passing by. I'd be like, I bet I can get her before you can. You know, he'd be like, you know,
so you played Sherlock Holmes afterwards, and like putting the dots together, like, I got you.
You know, and it was just a thing of understanding. It was never an issue in that way. I think sometimes I had like some people around me to try to make it an issue, but I didn't care. So I was like,
what do you mean by that issue?
I once had a acquaintance, and she didn't know I was bi, because I never had it coming out. It was just always another thing. And she had found out, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I was about to sleep in the bed with you." And I'm like, "Yo, you're not even an option, dude. Like, don't. Exactly.
You're making yourself already, you know, you're giving yourself that praise or something.
Exactly.
And how did that conversation end?
No, this is what I clarified. I'm like, look, just because I'm bi doesn't mean that I'm gonna be attracted. Doesn't mean I'm gonna do anything to you in the bed. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
and just on that as well is what are some of the misconceptions that people have about, you know, the whole, I'll say the LGBTQ just in general?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like sometimes fear or misconception, or that it's very wrong, just because I know there's a lot of religious resistance to it, but also that because you are this or that, that's a threat to you. That if, say, I was a guy, that just because, you know, I'm gay, that I'm gonna want you, or that, you know, I'm gonna act kind of bizarre compared to a person who's like more in the heterosexual perspective, which is not true. Or that you can change it. You can change it.
I was about to go there. You know, a lot of people say you can just, you know, get out of it or something. You know, it's usually the parents who can't come to the terms to accept that.
Yes, 100%.
And do you have friends that you had back then that you knew also, you know, as well in the LGBT community?
I have a lot of friends. A lot of friends in that way. Yeah, and I've attracted a lot of. It's funny, a lot of women who they always knew it was inside them, but they've never expressed it to anybody, or they just recently come out, have gravitated towards me. And I think it's because I don't know why it happens, but I do try to be like a helping spirit and try to make them feel comfortable with that, you know, like it's okay. It's okay. Like,
have you ever met someone who was like in denial?
Yeah, I don't know.
Can you give us an incidence of a story like that?
I could.
I mean, you can't mention names. That's
no,
okay.
I can't.
I'm glad. That's understandable. But how did you help them? Like, did you help them overcome that? And how did you go about that?
I ask questions. That's actually my way. I ask questions about how you feel, how long you've been feeling this way. Can you tell me experiences that you've had where you felt this way? Maybe I just listen. I try to be an ear, because sometimes people get very scared to ask questions on both sides of not wanting to hear, or they want to hear but they don't want to offend the person. Completely understandable. I just ask and I allow them to speak. It's less about me and doing anything. It's just about me listening, letting them kind of unearth it for themselves, being like, you know.
Now that we've seen the topic of obviously being free and having that freedom to choose your path or walk in life, I know you're so big in, you know, expressing yourself as well, and you can check out the Instagram to know what I mean. What are some of the backlashes you've faced on that? I'm sure you faced many.
Oh yes,
Let's get into it.
That just because I'm free with my body, I'm free to. I love expressing my body in its natural state, because I've been through a lot of experiences where people have tried to take my body as if it was their own, and for me, being able to express myself through art, through photos, through whatever, is my way of kind of getting that out and enjoying it, and, you know, hopefully empowering others to feel comfortable to do the same. Doesn't matter the gender, sexuality, doesn't matter. And a lot of the backlash I receive, you know, I mean, I get DMs every single day. They're
DMs?
like, you know, every day, like, how many likes for... Sorry.
I'll just bleep that out.
Sorry. You know, just like a lot of things like that, or like, say, people in the surrounding industries, you know, assuming that just because, you know, I'm okay with this and that. That
because you're expressing yourself means it's like a, what you call it, a ticket or something.
Exactly, like, oh, I'm about to spread my legs just because, you know, you got a nice smile. Like, no, that's not how it works. That's not. I don't care how many likes you have. I don't care how many followers. I don't care who you are in, like, what you represent or how big you are. Like, no, it's none of that. Just assuming that you're easy because.
Yeah. Have you been in situations with, not just besides on Instagram with, you know, someone
like
doing that?
Yeah, tons of times. There was an incident where I was on someone's music video where he thought like, oh, maybe we could try and get frisky, and that was not the case. And I clarified that. He tried to grip my wrist, and I took it right away. And I clarified it. No. There's been. I want to say this person's name, but it's person.
You want to say that?
You know, I want to expose them. I wish. But there are a few people actually.
In the music industry now.
Or music industry.
But just in general, all industries.
The industry, yeah. And this person was trying to speak all dirty to me, kind of basically saying that I could work with this person's studio if I put. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
That was, just a lot of that. But I don't mind putting people in their place with that.
Put them in their place when they tell that.
I don't mind. If you can bring it, I can bring it too. Don't ever talk to me. Yeah, don't ever talk to me like that. I don't appreciate it.
No, of course. Have you been in situations that way that got out of control?
In what sense?
In a sense where the person attempting this, you know, getting aggressive and you also getting aggressive back.
Yeah, sometimes I've experienced men trying to like grip me or like pull me. Like it's usually a very like hands-on thing. Sometimes they'll speak to me very aggressively. I can speak on an incident actually. Was it last year? The year before, 2019 December. There was this guy who was apparently like well-known influencer type, whatever, rapping, whatever. And I was introduced to him by my like little brother. He was speaking. He was really thinking he was building rapport, whatever. And because on the route home was his route home, we offered to like drop him on the way. And he was trying to get all fresh, putting his hand out, and I put it back. I was being a bit more polite than I should have been just because he was my brother's friend and they were supposed to work together. So I was still trying to keep it courteous and be all,
How old was he, by the way?
This guy?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's older than me. Maybe like mid-20s. Yeah.
Okay.
Mid-20s, definitely.
Puts his hands on you?
100%. I keep putting back. Usually I would do something a bit more physical, but because of the situation, I was trying to be like, oh, you know, courteous, whatever. And then he keeps trying to like kiss me, and I'm getting really mad by this point, but I'm still trying to be respectful. I'm still trying to not like ruin anything for this and that. I don't do that anymore, but that incident taught me. And then just as he got out, he like kissed me on the face, but luckily I just moved my thing before he even caught my lips, and then he
was he intoxicated or anything?
Very intoxicated, but to me that doesn't excuse.
Obviously. Because I'm just thinking now, aftermath, you know, like, how do you then see the guy again?
100%. And I would have reacted in that moment, but then he ran out the car.
He ran out?
He ran, so he knew.
So he does the whole thing and then runs out.
He literally jumped out.
Crazy.
He jumped out, and then he blocked me.
He blocked you.
And you know why? I didn't know this for the longest time, because then there was I don't want to say too much, but there was kind of like a little rap beat kind of circulating on social media between all these rappers and stuff, whatever. And then through that rap beef, I had learned, this person has a girlfriend. Oh, I see. And then, I decided to,
If you had everything in your life, sorted, or perfect, what would you want to pursue? What would your ambitions be then?
Right.
And your answer was?
Well, I said if everything was perfect and everything was already pursued, then my journey would be done, right? Because if I'm not aching for something, if I'm not craving anything more, then it'll be done. But to answer that a bit more, after my journey of entertainment, what I'm really building up towards is I want to help take down trafficking as much as I can. Like human trafficking, it's a very big thing to me because I've experienced it in my own life, and help with people, not just women, but people who've been sexually abused. Because those two are very big things, and I want to stop that. I don't believe anyone should be caged or forced to do anything they're not comfortable with. at all. When I was very, very young, I can't tell you the exact age of when it started, but I can tell you where it ended. When I was around about 8, I was getting raped by my older brother's cousin in Altus River.
Older brother's cousin?
Yeah, so he's got a different...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was just trying to piece those two pieces together.
And... yeah, he would do it for years. It would be at the home there, do it at the family home, everywhere. It went on for a long, long time. Very, very long time. And I didn't tell anybody for the longest time.
Yeah.
I think I kept that was one of the things I kept bothering for quite a bit. And when I did, I don't know if I can expand, but I will expand.
Yeah, go for it.
When I did try to express this the first time, and I thought, okay, cool, I got my first set of like really dope friends, in this private school that I went to. And I expressed it to them, and some of the questions also were like, oh, did you enjoy it? And they started making like a whole game out of it. And then I'd found that they made this thing called the rape game. Where
the rape game?
Yes, where someone was designated as a rapist and the rest as victims, and they would chase after each other like tag. And then I kept quiet about it for the longest time again, and I was like getting more and more...
bottling it up, so like triggers, that's happening.
100%. And then I went through another kind of sexual assault experience. I was having a party at my place, and there was a boy who, I don't drink at all anymore, but I had drunk too much, so I was just like resting in the bed, and he had come and he started, kissing down, doing all these things like that. He didn't get to do anything past that because it was found out, and he was like kind of like beaten up and taken care of and all that stuff. And the last time I encountered an experience like this was there was a person I was kind of seeing. That's a whole different story, but it wasn't. There was a reason, there was a purpose for it, and he. Like just like an hour before my birthday, I remember that so clearly. I was like maybe 19, just like an hour before my birthday. And he had anally raped me. And very deeply. And I was bleeding for a whole month afterwards. On my whole birthday, I was crying the whole day. I was not in a good position because I just felt, when the experience was happening, I felt like my soul had left my body. Like
It's a terrible experience to be in the first place.
100%. And that was the last time. I decided that would be the last time. I decided it would never happen again. I'll kill anybody who tried, and I mean that. I really mean that.
Did you ever confront him about it?
Yeah, I'm going to be taking some legal proceedings with that. This is a protected man in a sense, so
that's very courageous of you, because it takes a lot for someone, to come forward with these type of things, and to be able to even speak about it.
I need to, because I thought about killing him. I thought about, and I'm honest about this because it's what I felt. Thought about having it arranged. I thought about all these things. My head didn't just...
strong hatred that someone builds, that resentment.
I wasn't like, okay, no, it's all good. Like, I'm just going to, but I decided I'm not a victim. I'm going to deal with this right. I'm not going to go to jail for somebody I hate in the first... Imagine. So, yeah, that's on the sexual side, but... With human trafficking, are you ready? Do you need
it's a lot, just hearing all the stuff that you've experienced on. But like I said, it's very courageous of you at the same time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And with the human trafficking, I've had lots of touches with this, like lots of like run-ins in general. But there are like a few significant experiences. The first, I would say, would be on my 18th birthday. I was like partying with my partner, whatever, my friends, and I won't say the club will be crazy.
Of course.
I would say the club. But then outside the club, I think it was probably like the last time I got heavily drunk as well, and I was like throwing up. And my partner at the time, he was like sorting out fights that were going on with like friends fighting like people for whatever reason. Someone said hello to someone's girlfriend or whatever, I don't know what and I was all the way at the end. I just wanted air. I was fine, I just wanted air. And then there was this band that was parked there, and there was one guy in the band, the other guy came out, and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, go away.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, you can come with me. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. And I'm like, no, I'm good.
But I mean, did you kind of know immediately then that something was up?
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what my state is. I'll never, and then he was coming closer. And I was just ignoring him because I still felt okay. I knew it was like a threatening situation, but I still felt like okay. And then he tried to come and try to pull me into his bag. He's like, yeah, come, don't worry, I'll take care of you, blah, 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 blah. I didn't even have to scream. My partner saw all the way from across, and he came up, and because he was so like tall and he like looked scary, he just like sat down next to me and like looked up at this guy like backed away. And that was like brief, so I'm very grateful for that I never got pulled.
Yeah, I was about to, thinking the worst there already.
And then another incident was at the Cape Town Library. That was a more professional kind of like organized type vibe.
Wow.
So
library.
Yeah. And I also thought about that. I'm like, the library of all places.
Exactly.
But that's because there's so many school kids there. So many great choices. And I think I was scouted from the moment I got out of the Uber to go into the library.
How old were you, by the way?
I was 19.
Okay.
I was 19, yeah. So
a lot of things happen at 19 for you, eh?
It's just growing up in general.
It's crazy. But to continue.
Yeah, and I think I was scouted from outside. I think that's the moment I was scouted.
Mm-hmm.
I went inside. I could feel eyes on me, and I think the only reason I could is because my mom had taught me a lot about human trafficking. It was a big cause for her when she was younger to try and prevent kids from being trafficked if they were finding them. And I could feel eyes were on me, but I just ignored it. I'm like, I'm in the library, I'm safe.
Yeah.
And I went up to like the psychology section, which if you know the library, it's like all the way up. And there was no one there except for me at the time, but I felt like there was like very direct eyes on me. I couldn't tell where, I couldn't see anybody around me.
But you felt like a presence, a strong presence somewhere.
And then this guy I seen from the opposite side of the psychology section, then he pops up and I can notice he's looking, but he's trying to play it off like he's not. And he gradually makes his way through, and then he's just like standing opposite the section, making like he's looking through books and whatnot. But I'm ignoring this. I'm like, you know what? I know he's there, and I just came in for my books, and I'm gonna go. My phone was like on 5%, so I'm like, yo, okay. And then he comes up, he starts having a conversation, trying to be like, can you tell me what's a good book in psychology and blah, 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 blah. And he's trying to assess and like gauge me. And I think he was recording me, but I'll tell you why just now.
Yeah.
And
do you think it was innocent at the time though?
No.
Or did you already feel like something is definitely ominous about the whole situation?
I didn't know that it was trafficking per se.
But you kind of felt like something.
I knew that there was a reason. At first I thought maybe he's just like someone hoping to like, get it in. Or like, that was my first assumption. And he's talking, he's like, based on your knowledge of psychology, what would you say or what have you observed about our interaction? I'm like, this is a very interesting question to be asked. So then I answered honestly. I'm like, to be honest, if you had approached me outside, I wouldn't speak to you. Wow. But it's only because we're in here right now that I'm even speaking to you at all.
Wow. And
then he smiled at this, like a very like weird smirk. And what I noticed that he wasn't someone just trying to, get it. He wasn't just like a guy trying to ask for my number because of how he played the energy. He made sure to keep a respective distance. He made sure to not speak too flirtatiously. And I was noticing like, wow, this is very trained, and he's very like well spoken, like the way that he was doing things. I'm like,
definitely something planned. He's been rehearsed and probably done before as well.
And I said, the reason I want to approach you or speak to you outside is because in Cape Town you never know. And that was a key thing that I said. And then I felt like I needed to leave immediately. My phone was already low. I'm like, I felt like I'm in a dangerous situation, because what had happened was after he had said goodbye, noticing I was getting uncomfortable, he disappeared. I don't know where he went. I didn't see him go down the stairs. I don't know how I didn't see it. So I was like, okay, I need to leave. I don't know what's going on, but I need to leave. Put on my Uber, I'm ordering my Uber, I'm trying to get out. My phone's going low. I'm like, okay, I remember the license plate, whatever. Let me just look around. So really with the parade, outside, whatever. Yes. So I'm walking around, but not too far, because I don't know what's about to happen.
That's crazy. What you're feeling at that moment, because you clearly knowing, it's almost as if you're predicting that something's about to go wrong.
I really felt like it. And also, when I was waiting, I don't know if you know the library, right?
Yeah, yes, I'm well aware of
There's
it.
a bulletin board side
Yes.
that's not quite in and not quite
Yes,
out.
yes.
And I was standing there just to be safe because I didn't know if someone's going to try and inject me. Like, there's so many things that could have happened. I didn't want to assume what it would be. And then he passed by. And after me recommending books, he had nothing in his hand. He's like, yeah, don't worry, I'll see you around. I'm always around, blah, blah, blah. And then he disappeared. And then I was looking for the Uber. A lady comes from like afar, right? And she could have come to everyone. There's school kids all around, but she like looked like she was coming directly to me, which she did. Couldn't look her straight in the face because I already knew by that point what the situation was. I knew it was trafficking. And she started speaking. She started being like, oh, I know it's really weird to come up to you and all, because, in Cape Town, you never know, right?
You said that?
Yeah, she said that.
In Cape?
Yes, and that's a way of building rapport.
Obviously, gaining your trust.
And being a woman as well. And she's like, yeah, but like, me and these people, we sometimes do this thing where we go for walks in Sea Point together and stuff, just to get to know people. And like, oh, where are you from? Because of my accent, she thought I was, I was like, no, I'm from here and stuff. And she was trying to get my number. I gave her a burner phone that I had. Like, I was like, just because I was like, maybe I can go to the police or something. That's what I was trying to think. And she was trying to get my name or whatever. And luckily the Uber was there. My phone died. I got into the Uber. I just like went away, and I had to get rid of the phone because then I was encouraged not to go to the police. But that I'm not gonna speak too much of. And that's just 2 incidents. And I don't know if you want to get into everyone, but yeah.
So, but have you? You build up the suspense in both stories, but have you actually been kidnapped?
So I was in a situation in Joburg.
19.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was 19. It was 19, yeah. That was in Joburg. And that was, I had a friend of me type vibe. And let's just say we had friend A, friend B, and friend C.
Okay.
Friend C, I absolutely still love to this day. Friend A, we were close and all, and we worked well together. And friend B was someone who had just lost her job at the club and stuff, so she was going to Joburg. Yeah. And friend A wanted to see there was more money there. I was already making good money, so I didn't need to go anywhere, but I'm like, if there's good money there, I'll go there. I don't mind. Yeah. I'll bring C along.
And all this is because through your hustle, of course, as you mentioned.
And C, she...
Yeah, sorry for interruption.
C is a proud... virgin stripper. She wants to save her virginity up until a certain
virgin stripper.
And and so we already knew that like going there, we're not going to be doing no favors for anybody. This is not, we're about
this
to stand.
This is work. Yeah, make money.
100%.
The hustle continues.
So me and C, we were waiting in Cape Town to should we go to Joburg or not. And then friend A convinced friend B. She's like, yeah, don't tell them how bad it is, just tell them to come over.
Yeah.
And then so we did. We drive through Joburg. We go in through 2-4-hour drive into this place where there's no signal. Can't order no Ubers. I'm not going to say what the place is.
Yeah.
And we go in. I'm just assessing. I'm like, wow, to get over these gates, it's very like you can't jump over. There's security there. I'm seeing how you need like a certain pass. Like there was a designated driver to get us in. Can't order Ubers, no signal. That's one of the first things I checked. And then we're driving through, and it was like a long drive as well. It felt like being in a human Jurassic Park. I was like,
wow, a human Jurassic Park.
This is the only way I can describe it. And when I saw the living quarters, it was hidden all the way at the back. And like, I was like, yo, this looks Dodgers, and
Dodge AF.
And friend A was already working in the club, and then friend B was waiting, and she looked scared out of her mind. And then I waited for the owners, who looked already like weird as well, to disappear. And then I was speaking to friend B, and she wasn't telling me everything. And slowly I got out of her. And then I realized oh no, we're being pumped out. Yeah, we're being in a situation that we can't get out of, basically.
Trapped.
We were trapped. We couldn't get the little signal that we could get. Didn't do us anything because it was so late. It was 4 a.m. by the point we were like, okay, we need to get out of here. It doesn't feel safe. Friend B was still trying to rush. I'm like, no, look, friend C is a virgin. She wants to stay that way. I'm going to keep it that way. I want us to be safe, so we're going to get out of here. And she's like, what about friend A? I'm like, no, friend A betrayed us, and this is what happened. And so now we're trying.
It's crazy to be betrayed by your own friend like that, eh?
And it gets a bit more, worse. But So then we're trying to get out. We can't contact nobody. I don't really know him, but in Joburg. Anyway, so we're trying to get out. And then friend B's like, yeah, maybe we should just tell the owners that we want to leave. I'm like, no, I want to leave. I want to get out now. Like, I don't want to tell anybody. These people already dodge. I don't trust them.
Yeah.
She decides to anyway out of good spirit. And then they start threatening us. Crazy. Telling us all sorts of things. And then friend A turns on us. And we've already packed up our suitcases and like heavy suitcases, walking around, trying not to get caught, trying not to be seen by anybody like that. Yeah. And I was like, yo, what are we even in right now? And then friend A messages to say, oh, you better hope they don't find you and blah, blah. Yeah, like literally, I'm like, yo,
who sends that messages?
No, but I don't want to say she's great, but I was like, yo. And then luckily a friend of B's happened to be there having a bachelor's night with his friends or whatever, and they were staying in some of the residences there. He was no help though. He just got us to where we were staying. We were still trapped in there and stuff, and we had to like we didn't know nobody could get us out, and we couldn't order an Uber. So we prayed. We spoke to the driver, the designated driver. We're like, look, we'll pay you X amount of money. We'll pay you. And get us out, because we can't get out without permission. So even if we got to the gate, which was like
someone was gonna need to alert to open,
exactly, and
they just close up the whole thing.
And they were looking for us, and we had to wait until the next day. And even when we eventually got out, they wouldn't let us out at first. This guy had to speak to them for the longest time.
What was going through your mind through all this?
I know I can't swear on this song, but it's a lot of swear words. And just as long as friend C to me was like a little sister, so I wanted to make sure that she was okay.
And you mentioned she was a virgin as well, so that had been a traumatic experience.
100%. And soon as we got out the gate, I was just like, it was pouring with rain and stuff. I was like, yo, I can't wait to get back to Cape. I'm never, no harm to Joburg, but yo.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Before we end it off, Mia would like to, give advice to the young women out there, and just women in general about, being safe and what to look out for, So take it away, Mia.
Of course, thank you. So don't let anything scare or intimidate you. Or if you do feel fearful, feel the fear and do it anyway. Embrace that. It's often through a lot of obstacles and a lot of difficulties that you find the greatest part of yourselves, and you discover more and you achieve a lot more. So just keep headstrong and don't let anything get in your way.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I know it was quite a lot that was said today, and hopefully you guys watched till the end. Mia's whole situation and what she's been through in life is traumatic, if I may say so. I mean, definitely is traumatic, right? And there's a lot of people out there that have experienced these things but have not spoken out about it. So if you have someone that you can speak to, a family member, someone, or just someone that you can trust, please do. And once again, thank you guys for watching this episode of the Cut Show, Cut Podcast specifically. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And, do leave your feedback on what you thought of today's podcast. And yeah, thank you. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Hey, you knocking on my ribs, yeah, you stay robbing,